Let me introduce you to my mom. She's the small lady that most of you have seen at pickup. She's just your average mom. For example, she serves lunch at school sometimes, and here she is picking me up at dismissal. Just your average mom, right? Well, not really. Just because someone appears a certain way doesn't mean that you know the whole person. The part that you see of my mom is just one small side of her. My mom actually grew up in Beirut, Lebanon, better known then as a war zone. For her, life in that city was anything but carefree. Today, I will be talking of the time a missile hit my mother's home. So, Lebanon is a tiny, beautiful country on the Mediterranean Sea. It was in civil war from 1975 to 1990. That's more than 3 times the length of the American Civil War. So, until 1975, the Christians and the Muslims had been living together in Lebanon in relative peace and in a pretty balanced way. About 52% of the population was Christian and 48% were Muslim. However, the Muslims started to feel like they wanted more power in the country's leadership and wanted the country to be ruled by Muslim clerics, making Lebanon more religious and more Muslim, while the Christians wanted to be ruled by a prime minister, making it a secular country. So as a result, different factions started fighting so their group could gain power in the country's leadership. This story takes place in 1982, around the middle of the war. Even though the fighting had calmed down by the middle of the war, there were still skirmishes every now and then. During one of these skirmishes, gunmen were firing missiles at each other from the rooftops adjacent to my mother's home. My mother's home was the 8th floor of a 10-story building, kind of like one of these. So, because of the obvious danger, my mother's family went and hid in the safest part of their home, the guest bathroom. After about 15 minutes crammed in that bathroom, my grandpa, who's always been defiant, decides that he's had it and he just wants to go hide. And he just wants to go watch TV in the living room, even though the explosions are going off all around him. After a few minutes go by, and now my mom and grandma, who at first thought he'd come back after hearing these explosions, knows that he just did not care. So finally, taking matters into her own hands, my mother ran out and screamed at my grandpa to go back into the bathroom. The only reason he finally decided to get up was because he was scared that the gunman could see my mom. They barely got away from the living room, just a few feet away, when a missile hit my mom's home, right where my grandpa was sitting and where my mom had been standing. This is what hit my mom's home, something that most of you have only seen in movies. This stuff sounds like fiction, yet it was real life for my mom. The first time I heard this story was when my sister was in 5th grade and my mom was telling it to her for one of her classes. My sister's 5th grade class told every student to go home and get an exciting story from their parents. The next day, all the other students came up, had nice stories like, the time I caught a fish or the time I had a lemonade stand. Even though these are good stories, my sister's story was one of the most outstanding and amazing stories anyone in the room had ever heard. We need to remember that our parents had a life before they had us. We need to respect them as more than just a chauffeur or an ATM. My mom's name is Michelon, and I'm so proud to be her son. Thank you.